Exam Study Guide by Haley Villa. Question number 1. What class do the scores have a range of 12? My answer was class 1. I picked class 1 because the largest number is 20 and the smallest is 8. And 20 minus 8 is 12. All the other ones had something such as 13 or 14. Question 2. Chance answered 90% of the 30 questions correctly on the test. How many questions did he answer correctly? First, I divided 100 by 30, and it gave me 3.3, and it kept on going no matter what. So then I picked the number 28, and I did that times 3.3 and got 89.1. To be sure that I thought 27 was my answer, I did 28 times 3.3, which got me 92.4. 89.1 was closer, so I picked 27 questions as my answer. Question 3. Lacey read that 4/5 of a town had been destroyed by flooding. What decimal is equivalent to 4/5? So I did the part to total equals percent over 100, and 4/5 over 4/5 equals something out of 100. And I knew that 5 times 20 equaled 100 because I divided it and from prior knowledge. And 4 times 20 is 80. You do to the top as you did to the bottom. So my answer was 0.80, which is 80%. Question 4. Rhonda has a rectangular-shaped garden with the following characteristics. The length of her garden is 10 feet. The area of the garden is 50 square feet. Find the width of her garden. Area equals length times width. I drew my own garden, and I knew that the whole area was 50 square feet, and the length was 10. So then I thought of 10 times what equals 50. 10 times 5 equals 50. So my answer was 5 feet. Question 5. The table shows the age distribution of 250 kids attending a summer camp. What percentage represents the students that are older than 10? When it said older than 10, I knew that the kids that were 10 years old would not count, and the kids that were 9 years old would not count. So I added 65 plus 45, which gave me 110. So that marked out 11 and 12 years old. And 35 kids were 13, so I added that and got 145. Well, then I did percent over 100 equals part to total, but I didn't know the percent. So I had to do 145 divided by 2.5 and got 58. So my answer was 58%. Question 6. Find the median of the data in the stem and leaf plot below. I gave myself a key just in case I forgot what a stem and leaf plot represents. there was 7 numbers, and I know that the median equals the middle of all the numbers. And after I crossed 3 out on each side, my answer was 21. Question number 7. Read each statement about a person's credit score and record if the statement is true or false in the answer box. My first statement was making late payments on the credit card raises a person's credit score. I said that was false. If you make a late payment, then that would be a bad thing. The second statement said a person's credit score could be a factor in getting a job. And that's true because if your credit score is bad, the boss may not want you. My third statement was a credit score is a major factor in getting a mortgage loan. And that's very true. Mortgage loans, nobody wants to give you one if you don't have a good credit score because you may not pay the loan back. And 4, having a large loan that has not been paid lowers a person's credit score. That is true because nobody's going to trust you after that, and you're going to get a bad credit score because you didn't pay the money that you owe back. So my answers were false, true, true, true. Olivia's 5 1/4 feet tall. How tall is Olivia in inches? 1 foot equals 12 inches. So I did 12 times 5 is 60 inches. And 12 divided by 4 is 3. So I put 60 plus 3 is 63 inches. So my answer was that Olivia is 63 inches tall. Question 9. Find the area of the trapezoid below. The area of a trapezoid is half times base 1 plus base 2 times height. So I did A equals half plus 4 plus 9 because base 1 and base 2 times H. And then I kept going and did A equals half times 13 times 6 because 4 plus 9 is 13 times 6, which is the height. And then I did A equals half times 78. I got 78 by multiplying 13 times 6. And then I got my answer, which is 39 feet squared, by dividing 78 by 2 to get the answer 39. Question 10. Gino scored 17 out of 20 questions on his quiz. What percent represents his score? Well, I know 20 times 5 is 100, and this is another part to total equals percent to 100 thing. So I did 20 times 5 equals 100. Well, you do to the top as you did to the bottom. So I did 17 times 5, which gave me 85. So my answer was 85%. Question 11. Wilma has a large box and a small box. The small box is 1 foot wide, 2 feet long, and 4 feet tall. The large box is 2 feet wider, 2 feet longer, and 1 foot taller than the small box. What is the difference between the volume of the large box and the volume of the small box? Well, the small box's volume was 8 feet squared, and I got this by doing 1 times 2 is 2, and 2 times 4 is 8, which is 8 feet. The large box was 3 times 4 equals 12, times 5 equals 60, and 60 minus 8 is 52, which gave me my answer, 52 feet squared. Question 12. Which of the following ways to pay for college do not have to be repaid? Well, my answers were scholarships, because those are free. You get them by doing good. Money given as a gift. You can't give a gift back. Well, you can, but they don't expect it in return. Grants you don't have to pay back, and neither do you have to pay back work studies. A loan you do have to pay back, and it can affect your credit score, as in one of the questions before this. Question 13. Mitch has completed 35 questions, or 70% of his test before lunch. How many total questions are on the test? Well, I did 35 times 2 equals 70. And I still didn't know the total questions, though. Well, you do to the bottom as you do to the top. So, 50 times 2 equals 100. So, there was 50 total questions. Question 14. Find the balance of the checkbook register on September 9th, 2012. It was this question which showed the checkbook register, and I even put the things that you have to do at the top so I could remember. So what I had to do was just subtract and add to get the balance. So I did 712.34 minus $540, and I got 172.34. Well, I did 172.34 minus 80 and got 92.34. 92.34 plus 120 got me to 212.34. 212.34 minus 154.17 got me $58.17. When I added that to 525.36, I got $583.53. And then I had to subtract 583.53 by 61.18 and got my answer of $522.35 on September 9th, 2012. Question number 15. Vincent puts out a container that contains 3.5 gallons of sweet tea for his restaurant. Which proportion can be used to find C, the number of cups in Vincent's drink? Well, I wrote myself a note that the cup goes over the gallon, which is something that I needed to remember. And those two I could rule out immediately because there are 16 cups in 1 gallon. Cups over gallons is what got me to pick my choice of A, because this is gallons over cups, and that's not what I needed. So my answer was A. Question 16. A trail mix snack company advertises 3 out of 15 pieces as a raisin. A bag of trail mix has 200 total pieces. At this rate, how many raisins should be in the bag? I wrote myself a note that says simplify first, because that's how I got the question wrong at first. So I did simplify. I did 3 over 15 divided by 3 over 3 is 1/5. And to get to 200, I had to do 200 divided by 5, which gave me 40, which brought me to part over whole equals percent out of 100, or 200. So 5 times 40 is 200, so 1 times 40 is 40. So my answer was 40 raisins. Question 17. A triangle has two angles that measure 64 degrees. What is the measure of the triangle's third angle? Well, after talking to my teacher, I realized that both of the angles were 64 degrees, not just them two adding up to it. So I did 64 plus 64 is 128. Well, a triangle's angles have to add up to 180. So I did 180 minus 128 equals 52, which gave me my answer of the third angle being 52 degrees. Question 18. Lindsay has 80% of the state capitals to memorize for a geography bee. What fraction of the capitals has she learned in lowest terms? Lowest terms is basically simplifying. So I did 80% out of 100 because she's already learned 80% of it. So they want to know what is 80% in lowest terms. So I did 80% divided by 20, and 100% divided by 20 equals 4/5. So my answer was 4/5. Question 19. What is the mode of the data set? The mode is the number that occurs the most, and apparently it's 2. There was 8 2s, so my answer was A, 2 only. Question 20. Ginger records her grades for each assignment in science. Which graphical display correctly represents Ginger's science grade? My answer was C. This was a multiple choice question. And I crossed out the numbers, but I rewrote them right there. Well, number 1 had 2 100s, and it's pretty obvious. On here, she only had 1 100. So I could rule out letter A, sorry. Number 2 doesn't show that she got a 65, and she clearly did. So I picked C, which shows every single grade she got perfectly. Question 21. Find the area of the figure. Well, they both have different ways of finding their area. So the first one I did was the rectangle. Area for rectangles is length times width. Well, 8 times 4 is 32. So the rectangle's area was 32 feet squared. For a trapezoid, it's very different. For a trapezoid, the way you find its area is half times base times height. No, times base 1 plus base 2. I'm sorry. Pardon me. It's half times base 1 plus base 2 times height equals your area. So I did base 1 plus base 2, which is 22, times the height, which is 4. So that got me 88.